Now, I had arranged to speak with Amandeep Singh, who is a Sikh educator. He's also a lawyer. So I've got to start off, Amandeep, by saying, what do you take of today? What is your perspective on the politics of the day?
Good afternoon, Shay. It's always a pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me on. Firstly, just congratulations and celebrations to all of my Hindu brothers and sisters across the world celebrating Diwali, and those Sikh brothers and sisters that celebrate Bandi Chhor Divas. You are quite right. It is a historic occasion. It is our first Asian Prime Minister. I heard him speak for the first time, as many thousands will have done. I will comment that I did pick up on something. Obviously, I'm a lawyer, so my focus is on the language and the words, and sometimes they give you an indication of where someone's mindset's from. Maybe it's nitpicking, but he had the opportunity to address the nation in rising costs. People are really struggling right now. And what he made mention was that it's the greatest honour and privilege of his life to serve the party that he loves. Now, I just don't think we're at a time where we should be talking about party politics. I think the first words out of his mouth should have been, it's going to be the great honour and privilege of my life to bring us out of this dark time.
Would you not acknowledge, though, of course, he was addressing Tory MPs. He was giving this address, at the Conservative HQ. He's yet to become the UK Prime Minister. So at the moment, he has been, of course, announced as the leader of the Conservative Party.
I think that when you're on the air and you're being broadcast across the world, and we are in such an economic negative, we're in such a dark place economically. I mean, I was in the news agents just a few days ago, and there was a lady in front of me who I actually witnessed this, and it really brought it home. She was struggling to come up with the money to charge her card, and her two children were there. Looking at the chocolate bars, and she was struggling to find the money to charge her card for the gas. She'd said to the guy, look, I've cut off my electricity, but can I just give me a little bit of an allowance? I'm only a few quid short. Obviously, I chipped in to help her out, and that's my privilege to do that, because I was standing in the queue behind her. But for the Prime Minister to go on in the face of these circumstances and talk about it being, I just think that's out of touch with the people. We hear so often about the Conservative Party being out of touch with the people. This was an opportunity for Rishi to say, look, it's going to be my honour to stand with you in these dark times, shoulder to shoulder, and face the darkness. But it's and I think that's just what a Prime Minister should do. It may have been at Conservative HQ, but he's speaking to the world, and he's speaking to a lot of very, very scared people right now. And it's just an indication. Maybe it's too early to make that judgment call. But as I said, I'm looking at the language, as many will be doing in those first few moments as he's been elected, and the language it just indicates.
So he hasn't resonated for you. I mean, do you think this is the right step for the Conservative Party, or do you feel perhaps there should now be a general election? I mean, where do you stand on this whole conversation?
Look, I think I don't want to make the mistake that many do to drudge too early. I really sincerely hope for the benefit of many that he is the leader that we need. I don't know him. I know little about him, as many don't. So I won't make that judgment. I will simply state that I think that the language was poorly chosen for his first address. When he could have been speaking for the people, to the people, he was speaking perhaps at a party address, but speaking to the party, really. And to say that it's my honour to serve the party that I love, and the nation that's so good to me, I just think it's out of touch again. But again, many would think that maybe I'm reading too much into it. That was my initial response.
Amandeep, I'm really glad, Amandeep, that you have said what you've said. I'll tell you why, because there'll be those who feel just like you. There'll be others, of course, who disagree. So if you're tuning into Radio London, tell me your thoughts. 0800 731 2000. Amandeep Singh, my guest, saying actually for me, Shay, it fell short. What do you feel around Rishi Sunak's address to the Conservative Tory MPs outside the Conservative HQ? He is, of course, going to be the next UK Prime Minister today, confirmed as the Conservative Party leader. 0800 731 2000. Before we delve into and the key topic, Amandeep, that we were going to talk to you about around Bandi Chhor Divas, as yourself looking at politics, you've said you are a lawyer. You clearly work within a remit, within a world which is perhaps not as representative as you as a turban-wearing Sikh brown man. How do you feel, politics aside, like Sadiq Khan has said, around Rishi Sunak being the first British South Asian Prime Minister of this country?
I think that's one of the celebrations of this nation, and it is a great nation, which I'm very proud to be a part of, to have been born and brought up in the British Isles, to be part of this, to be part of England and Wales. And I think the real success is that it hasn't really been the issue. It hasn't been the main headline. Like, for example, when Barack Obama was elected as president, it was the main aspect of that election was the fact that he was a black man being brought into mainstream politics. And I think it's a real celebration that Rishi Sunak is not being charged in that way as first and foremost an Asian prime minister. You know, I just think that the fact that that isn't the main factor. Obviously, there will be those that will focus on that, and it's interesting to see that he is, and to see where that takes us. But I think the real success is that's not been part of his frontline politics in the election battle previously with Liz Truss, which we knew more about. So I think it's a real success. You know, Sikhs are a minority in this country. We're less than 2% of the population, and we're celebrated as a community that has well adjusted into the British value system. Yeah. And I think the experiences that I've had, by and large, have been positive. And I think it's appropriate and fair that those that are willing to make those steps forward and step into these places, they're not held back because of the colour of their skin. And Rishi Sunak has proven that if you touch the right tone within your party, and I illustrate the point with you within your party based on what echoing what I said a few moments ago, that you can make headroom.
Amandeep, I appreciate you weighing on this, because this isn't actually why we were going to be speaking today to you. So, I've
got something far more important to speak to you about.
Let's talk about it. A very happy Bandi Chhor Divas. I just want to set the scene for you, if I can, before we delve into the importance of this celebration for the Sikh community here in London, across the world as well. Came into the studio today, I rocked up with my sweets. I didn't do laddus today because I thought, it's too much sugar and I'll end up eating 5 of them. So I brought a very well-known British brand for everyone. Many people, of course, were saying Happy Diwali, and I responded because it is a beautiful celebration, an auspicious one. But many of my colleagues did not know until I told them that it is Liberation Day for the Sikh community, that actually this day holds 3 religious celebrations for the Sikh community, the Jain community and the Hindu community. So please, for those who do not know, tell us the importance of Bandi Chhor Divas.
It's my honour and privilege to do so today. So today we celebrate the returning of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, the 6th Guru of the Sikhs, from prison. That's right, they were imprisoned in that Gwalior fort. As they returned home to that place which we now know as the Golden Temple, the Harmandir Sahib, that place which is known as the biggest kitchen in the entire world, where we feed hundreds of thousands of people, irrespective of caste, religion or creed, across the world. It was the day that Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji returned, because they had been imprisoned wrongly for political reasons, because of the protests that were being made by the Sikh community to the government at the time. The emperor had decided to release the Guru to avoid any civil unrest. When the prison guards were sent to see Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji and advise him within the jail that he'd been given his freedom, that he'd been liberated, if you will, he said, I refuse to, because in that prison he had come to know that there were 52 other kings. They were from a different religion, from a different part of the world. They were in fact Hindus, Hindu Hill Raja, who had been imprisoned for political reasons as well, wrongly imprisoned, I should add. And the Guru said that I will not be able to be released of my conscience if I leave this place and they remain behind. So unless you release those prisoners, I remain in my cell. And so this is really historically quite relevant, because there's not been ever a recounted historical occasion where a prisoner by his own accord has remained in prison for the benefit of others. And so it was eventually that the Guru would secure the release of those 52 kings by standing his ground, essentially, for those freedoms of others. And so it was on this day that Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji walked out of that prison with 52 kings in their stead, all of whom were also celebrating their release. When they did so, as they approached the Golden Temple, as you can imagine, all of the Sikhs were in complete jubilation. And so the sky was lit up with fireworks and divas and lights to celebrate that out of the darkness, out of the cell of darkness, the Guru had come. And that great teaching, actually, that you can be in prison but not be a prisoner if your mind is free and righteous. So the Guru came home, and more importantly, he set set those free that had been imprisoned in his midst, not allowing them to remain in prison. So we celebrate that day across the world by lighting candles and lighting fireworks into the sky, just as the Guru Sikh had done at that time to celebrate the coming home of the Guru. I've tried to really bring that down into the small.
I mean, it's a long history, contextual history, which is important, of course, for the Sikh community, but also it just shows, doesn't it, on this day, the reason why the Sikh community come together with many of their Hindu brothers and sisters and their Jain brothers and sisters and celebrate this key message of the triumph of light over darkness. That's the aspect here, isn't it, really, to focus on?
It really is, and it's. I didn't intend to speak about Rishi, but going back to the point, the Guru was saying, it doesn't matter to me if you're a Hindu or a Sikh. I stand for you, and I stand for you with my life and my freedoms. I offer my freedoms in return for the exchange of your freedoms to stand next to you, and I think we need more of that in our day-to-day. It's becoming so sectionalised in society, where it depends on what group you're from. My daughter would say, well, what clique you're from, what gang you're from.
Yeah, what clique are you from? Yeah.
And we just need to understand that the Guru's teachings, they're universal. They are explaining to us that within each and every one of us is that light. We're all connected by that light. As we light those lights in the sky, they do not belong to us. They belong to all of us as one. And this is why I think it's so important to celebrate Bandi Chhor Divas, because it's not just a Sikh teaching, it's actually teaching us as Sikh that we stand for the freedoms of all. And those principles are becoming more and more relevant as we queue up and see our fellow countrymen struggling to pay their bills. We should be making that offering to help each other out and just be neighbours.
Well, Amandeep Singh, I think for many of the Sikh community, they'll feel you've put it just perfectly. A happy Bandi Chhor Divas to you, to your family. Thank you for joining me here on BBC Radio London.
Jay, just a quick shout. If anybody wants the longer version, I've been invited to speak at the Sikh temple in Leighton today at 6:15, where we're going to be going through Bandi Chhor Divas at length, and then at 8 p.m. in Ilford Gurdwara this evening.
Fantastic. Busy evening for you. People can follow you, Amandeep_Singh, is that right?
It's Amandeep Singh East London on Instagram.
Amandeep Singh East London on Instagram. All the details are there. Thank you for joining me today, Amandeep. I'm sure I'll get you back on the show. Sikh educator and lawyer, right?